What's going on, everybody? We got another episode of Miami Hurricanes Football After Dark. Probably one of my favorite shows coming up this week. We got some very special guests coming on the show, some Twitter personalities that you may or may not know of. Coming off of an outstanding overall team win against the Duke Blue Devils, finally shut out an ACC conference opponent, something we have never done while we have been in the ACC. I think our last shutout against a Power 5 opponent was against Syracuse, and that was in 2000 or 2001, one or the other. It's been 19 years, so I think that's fair from my memory. Ross, where do we start, man, after this great win? Are you buying into the Manny Diaz era so far? Second year, top 10 team in college football going into North Carolina, top 25 matchup in Miami Gardens, Hard Rock Stadium. Herb Street, Maria Taylor, Chris Fowler will be there.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm buying in a little bit. I'm not going to say I'm 100% bought into this whole thing with Manny. There's still some issues we got to work out, but the process is going forward. We can't say it's going backwards. We can't say it's sitting still after what we went through last season. The product has definitely improved. What we did against Duke was something that former teams have not been able to do for a long time, and that's beat up on a bad opponent. Duke shouldn't even hardly been on the same field as us, in my opinion, but you play who's on your schedule, you go there, you put your foot on their neck, and we did that. I'm very proud of this team for following through and doing that. The leadership at quarterback, the defenders making plays. I mean, this is a team that I'm feeling confident going forward with right now. I know some people have wanted to downplay this win a little bit, but I'm not going to downplay it, honestly. Dorian, what do you think about this, man?
Regarding a win, I think it's a great win. Albeit being Duke, right? But at the same token, Duke beat us last year. So we owed them a bit of payback. We delivered, and the team played great, man, as far as tackling. I saw very few penalties, right? I mean, we played sound football. We did exactly what we were supposed to do. And, as you stated, North, I don't think we could ask for anything else, right? But other than to move forward and progress forward into the next week. So I'm pleased.
Better Duck, what are your thoughts, man? I know you're very vocal on Twitter. Big win for the Canes. What are your thoughts on this victory?
It was a big win. They did what they were supposed to do. It's not a huge win because Duke stinks, but that's what you're supposed to do. Beat the teams that you're supposed to beat, and you're taking steps forward. Like I said, I think the last time I was on, I wasn't so much looking at win totals to assess the whole thing, because sometimes you can drop a game or two that you played well in, and sometimes you win a game where you play poorly in. But that's the best Miami's looked in a long time. Even though it was a crappy opponent, they didn't play down to them. They went out there, they had a couple of bad plays initially. There was a little rust or a little jitters or whatever it was. But our quarterback kid is amazing. He calms everybody down. And he didn't make a third mistake. He made two quick ones. He had like a bobbled snap and something else. And then he got right to it. And that's the way it's supposed to be. We're not supposed to be struggling with Duke in the fourth quarter.
Right. No, exactly. Very well said. Caleb, go ahead. Go ahead, Bear Duck.
Duke is a wily opponent because they have a good coach. That guy can coach. He's got 25 years experience, and the Duke kids, like the kids from Virginia, are smart. They're not dumb. So, that's a major factor. They're not going to make a bunch of dumb mistakes, and Miami took the fight out of them because Duke's not that bad, 48-0 bad, but Miami made them think like in the third quarter, like we're done. We can't do anything, and they made them quit. It was encouraging.
Caleb, what were your initial thoughts about the game?
I mean, honestly, Doug kind of broke it down pretty well. Honestly, we did what we were supposed to do. I mean, this is Duke, man. They ain't no football school. You know, you saw Jaden Hasselwood clowned us a couple cycles ago after he announced that he was going to Oklahoma. He was like, man, one of the reasons why I ain't go to Miami, they losing to basketball schools, man. They don't care about winning. Well, I think a lot has changed since then. And I think, we have a lot of people in the locker room that, you know, they may not do everything 100% right all the time, but we got a team that definitely effort is always there. You can see that they play hard. Even, sometimes they gonna mess up, and you saw at the beginning, I'm pretty sure those were jitters, for Jalen Knighton. It was his first game as a starter all year. He probably was a little jittery about it, but it's okay. We got it out the way. And I thought what was big is right after that fumble, they were in easy field goal range. And the defense, it didn't even take them one play to get them out of field goal range. And that was basically it. They weren't in scoring position the rest of the night. And honestly, it was great to see. And I think a lot of guys solidified themselves as one of the best players in the country. And I think that's easily Jalen Phillips. I mean, at the beginning of the year, I kind of had a little bit too high expectations. I thought he was going to be a guy that could get 12 sacks, 10 and a half sacks possibly. And he started out a little bit slow, but, as he's gone more and more game time, and you saw against the Virginia Tech game, I mean, the guy came out for, what was it, 2 plays? I mean, that's ridiculous. I know the whole defensive line played for most of the game because, we took a little bit of a depth hit because of COVID. But honestly, I think it's pretty obvious to me that we're going to have 2 defensive ends drafted in the first round this year. And we're definitely going to have 3 in the first 2 rounds, in my opinion, because I think there's a decent to good chance that Quincy Roche can get drafted in the second round.
I mean, we're speaking so highly, defensive players regarding this game. I gotta ask you guys: did this game get Blake Baker out of the doghouse? A lot of people have been critical of his defensive scheme. I thought this was the best game our defense played all around. I mean, is this kind of help Blake Baker's case? He is our guy at defensive coordinator, or we still have a lot more work to do. I mean, we have a good offense against North Carolina and potentially a very good matchup in a bowl game with a very good SEC opponent.
I think you hit the nail on the head right there. I think this definitely, it was encouraging, especially, we had bye week woes before this game where we, came out flat and didn't play that well. And that's obviously gone. I agree with you. I think this was Baker's best called game all year. But the UNC game and the bowl game are going to tell me everything I need to know. If the defense, you're not going to shut out, UNC or whoever you play in the bowl game. But if you can limit them, I would like to see us limit UNC under 24 points. I'd be happy with that. It's a pretty high scoring offense. And, Notre Dame, they're not the best defense ever, and they held them to 3 points in the second half. So, I think, if we're going to expect our defense to be a Miami defense, then we should be able to do similar to that. And whoever we play in the bowl game, for example, if we play Florida, ooh, man, Baker's going to have his hands full, And even Texas A&M, I think Kellen Mond isn't that good, but they got some nice receivers. They have a good offensive line, so I think, and their tight end is a stud. We could have gotten him 2 cycles back, except we went for the guy from Lakeland, and that didn't really work out for us too well. But honestly, I think it's going to come down to the UNC game and the bowl game to see whether or not, he's really flipped the switch.
Doran, what do you think of Blake Baker's defense?
I don't know, man, because to me, the jury is still out, right? We haven't faced a good quarterback since Trevor Lawrence, right? So a lot of things is kind of masked so far, right? So after Clemson, we played Pitt, Virginia, NC State, Virginia Tech, and Duke, right? None of those guys or none of those teams have a good quarterback to really test us how we should be tested, to really judge him, right? And I think this game against UNC versus Howell in that offense is really going to tell me all that I need to know about Blake Baker, right? People saying he's going to get fired or he should get fired. I don't think he is, right? I mean, I think he's doing a solid job, but as far as giving him credit past solid, right? I think it's still yet to be determined by this UNC game. I don't think Georgia Tech is going to really challenge us other than the playing a good team in the bowl game. So I'll find out after Saturday exactly what our DC is made of, so to speak.
Better Duck, what do you think, man?
I think that Baker was probably trying to cover some deficiencies, and an insane pass rush lets you do a lot of stuff you can't do. Like if they were nervous about the linebackers being a little bit slow and the young secondary, having a lights out pass rush is game changer, you know? And you get pass rush like Roche and Phillips, like they had this week. Okay, it's not going to be that great against UNC, but any quarterback. There's no quarterback that can withstand a pass rush, with the exception of Vic and Kyler Murray and a couple of dudes. So I think if that pass rush continues, I think he's going to be fine. You're going to see those corners move up a little bit, and it's going to change. I think they were probably a little scared at the beginning of the year, not knowing, there wasn't a lot of speed on the back end of the defense.
Ross.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think a lot of this has to do with taking what we did at the Duke game and going forward with some of that stuff, not just resorting back to the 100% bend, don't break kind of mentality, especially versus a team like UNC where it can cause a lot of damage on us if we get down too early. I want to see us do what we did in this Duke game, and I want to see us attempt to create pressure early and often, like some of these guys have already said. The blueprint is in effect for us. We know what we can do. We know what we can't do. Actually dialing it up to do it will be Baker and Manny's job to get this thing done. I think this UNC game is the perfect chance for a guy like Baker to prove what he really has after coming off of a blowout win. If he can stack up two good defensive outings for us back to back against two very different opponents, I'll be impressed about that. The bowl game is still, to be determined, but I'll be impressed if he can stack up a really good defensive performance against UNC, no doubt.
I'll tell you one thing though, right? We haven't been challenged at all in the passing game. When I look, even when I look back at that Clemson game, right? Even Trevor Lawrence and that group didn't really stretch us downfield, right? I mean, they had a few throws downfield, but they mostly killed us horizontal with ETN, right? This kid, if you look at the game last year, right? That one play, Bandy blew deep.
Oh,
man, that was so horrible. I mean, in addition to that, right, it was multiple throws that he completed downfield over 20 yards, and not even including that 4th and 17.
bro,
right?
he was on the way on us all game.
Man, so I'm telling you, man, I don't know. Like Doug said, I mean, if that pass rush has to be there. That's really the key of the game, really. Yeah. If that pass rush isn't there, it's going to be a long night for us stopping that passing attack. And then, not to mention, they got two studs in the backfield.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So I mean, it's really key that we get pressure on how. If we don't, it could be a long night. But I think the team they're gonna come in riding high. They know exactly what's at stake for this game. We're at home. We haven't been at home for like 2 months, it seems. I'm thinking about showing up to the games. Whoever, however many fans they allow at the stadium, man, I hope that they make it difficult on how.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this offense, their running backs, Williams and Carter, they're nearing 1,000 yards, both of them. You don't see that a lot on teams, both running backs getting to 1,000 yards. Offensively, throwing the football. Sam Howell's got over 3,000 passing yards are already, less than 12 games in. Their leading receiver, Brown and Newsome, nearing 50 receptions, both of them. I mean, they score very fast. That is, the whole goal of this, offense is go very up tempo and score a lot of points. You can be up by 21, and then the next couple minutes, next couple drives, it's a touchdown game. That's just kind of how they roll. I know defensively they're very weak. Any other concerns or maybe an edge you guys see against North Carolina going into this game for Miami?
I mean, honestly, I think the linebacker play has definitely improved, and I think that's a huge key, especially, considering, like you said, they have two really good running backs. So honestly, I think what they're going to try and do, they're going to try and run on us. Even though lately we've been better against the run, they're going to try and run to set up the pass. And if they can run on us, then I think it's going to be a long night. I think, honestly, one of our main focuses, we got to stop the run, because once we do that, Phillips and Roche, they could pin their ears back and they could go hunt. And honestly, if we force this into a game where Sam Howell has to throw 45 passes, I think, we're going to come up with a W, because I think the pass rush is really going to bother him. But if this is a game where, he can pick and choose when he wants to throw, when they're in a lot of 2nd and 4, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, I think that's not a recipe for success for us.
Ross, what do you think about this game with this North Carolina team, man? What challenges do you think we have in front of us?
I think the biggest challenge to us is trying to make sure that we don't get into a genuine shootout for 4 quarters. I don't think that bodes well for us, honestly. The UNC defense is not a good defense. It just really isn't. There isn't a guy at honestly any level that I'm going to say is going to make or break this game for them defensively. They can put together some series as a unit that aren't bad, but we can score on this team. I just don't want to see us get into a point to where it's the 4th quarter and we're looking at both right around 50 points or so. No defenses are stopping anything, and it will truly come down to who has the ball last as who's really going to win the game. That's what would worry me.
I don't think it's going to get into the 50s. I would be shocked. I think at most they're going to score maybe, 32, 33. I don't see them scoring more than that.
If we keep them below 40, I'm really comfortable at what we can do versus North Carolina. No doubt about it.
Now, I got a question I want Better Duck to answer first. We've seen a lot of success from transfer players this season. A lot of the end of the year award semifinalists, watch list players come from the transfer portal, players that we recruited. Guys, this is the free agency of college football, is the transfer portal. A lot of people in the fan base, they said, hey, we need to, focus on recruiting high school players more. Transfer portal is just a Band-Aid. It's a 1-year fix. Maybe you have the guy for 2 years. Luckily, it's a quick fix. But long-term, it's really not helping your program. Better Duck, do you think moving forward we need to put more emphasis on the transfer portal or in high school football?
Oh, that's a good question. I think that it's probably like an 80-20. I think if you can cherry pick guys that seniors that are just dominating, that are tired of their program they're at, or they just want to try something new, like the guys that we've got, then you get your transfer guys, but you have to build with recruiting. I mean, you can't transfer portal 50 guys or whatever, and you probably can't transfer portal a lot of offensive line and stuff. It probably doesn't pay to do that. Like, I know we've got the right tackle this year, but Miami has a serious advantage, just like they have in recruiting, or they had in recruiting, until so many guys started leaving South Florida. For whatever 30 years, it was on lock. Like, every good kid down here went to Miami, and a few snuck away to other places. But the advantage that Miami has is, unless you're going to go to Alabama or Clemson or, a couple other schools, there's only 2 other places worth going. And then that's Miami or USC if you're thinking about your post-career not involving the NFL. if you want to be in the media, if you want to be on television or on radio, you either go to Syracuse or you really go to USC, because that's where you make the contacts. And Miami, you're going to make contacts here. All those kids come back. You know, it's a big giant fraternity, the NFL and everything. And every week we get those pictures of all the Hurricanes on the field, all throwing up their U together, and they're, you know, both teams coming together. So I think Manny plays it right. I mean, he's been stomping everybody in the transfer portal, and it's only going to become more obvious as elite kids are like tired of being in Pennsylvania for the winter or in Michigan or Wisconsin or whatever. That's like, hey, I'm a senior. I don't need to drink 5-7 nights a week anymore. Dude, I'm going to go to Miami for a year. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't get any better than that. And those guys know that even though the teams have been bad for the last 18 or 19 years, the drafts haven't been bad. We've been putting kids in. Miami's still like third or fourth and putting kids in. And they're like first in snaps and like second or third or first in total revenue. So if you're really looking to get to the league and you know you're elite and you know you're going to be a high draft pick, dude, why stay at Nebraska for your senior year? I'm going to go live in Miami. I'm going to go to Club Live.
Is this the future, guys, the transfer portal? Now, University of Southern California, outside linebacker. He played, can't pronounce his last name. He played football at Bishop Gorman High School with Bubba Bolden, with Brevin Jordan, Tate Martell. A lot of guys who played at Miami. Mackenzie Milton, quarterback from UCF. He's in the transfer portal as well. According to Andrew Ivins, as of right now, Miami is not pursuing him. It's coming from Andrew Ivins of 24/7 Sports. They're not pursuing Mackenzie Milton as of right now. If De'Ara King declares for the draft, obviously I think that will change. But look at the options coming into the portal, guys. Is this the future for the University of Miami football program? Look at where we are right now, ranked number 10 in the nation, with transfer portal guys leading the way. Is this the future for the Miami Hurricanes football program? What do you guys think?
I mean, for me, it's like 50-50. You know, like like, I mean, look, it worked out for us now, but it didn't work out, you know, when we got Tate. So it really, I think we have to really pick and choose and take, I mean, maybe 2 to 3 people each year. I would be fine with that. If they, you know, if they have like a history, like you see how Jalen, you saw his potential. It's just he was hurt. So I think that was definitely worth taking the risk. And you see a guy like, you know, a guy like King, a lot of people like that are going to be interested. You know, they see how he balled out. So I wouldn't be surprised if we're a destination for a lot of transfer QBs. I wouldn't want Mackenzie Milton because I'm going to be honest, he had a really bad injury, man. I'd rather roll with TVD or, you know, someone else, but that's just my preference. The linebacker from USC, I think he's pretty good. I think, you know, especially now that it looks like T2 is probably not coming here. I mean, I think you take a guy like that. I think you make, you know, some room for him. And I think he would definitely, you know, be a potential starter for us. And if he's, you know, even half as good as how, you know, I've seen his film, I think he's definitely going to help out a lot. And I think it would be a pretty easy pickup, honestly, with the ties to Bishop Gorman with Brevin and Bubba.
Yeah, I think a little differently regarding this topic, you know, because to me, Paul and fellas, that, you know, the portal should be a gateway, right, to how, you know, to recruiting all high school kids, right? You know, if we got to resort to the portal like we have, it just means that you have holes in your roster, right? Because I don't see Bama. I don't see them in the portal, right? I mean, I don't see Ohio State in the portal. I don't see Clemson in the portal. I don't see the teams who win the chip having main kids coming from the portal. So to me, the blueprint is that you recruit top talent high school players, which we can do when we're winning. You develop those players and you keep stacking. Right? You keep stacking the talent, right? We should not have to resort to banking on a Jalen Phillips coming, right? We should already be recruiting those guys, right, to come. I mean, we're starting to move in that direction now, but I think maybe 1, maybe 2 more years of filling the gaps. But after that, we should already have, we should be winning, right? If we're still winning how we are now, we should already have 3 consecutive classes stacked on top of each other. And that should be enough to move forward to playoffs or competing for the championship. I just don't think we can bank on getting a De'Aaron King, because what happens if we can't get? What happens if we can't get that type of player? What happens if they choose to go somewhere else? Right? You got to have talent in-house developed in order to compete with the big dogs.
I agree with you there. I don't think it's a longevity thing, but at least, like you said, for the next couple years, I wouldn't have a problem doing that. Picking and choosing elite guys that want to come here. Why not? And hopefully in 1 to 2 years we have stacked. Forget top 10. We have the potential to get top 5 classes. I think next year's class, with all the talent in South Florida, could get top 5 class. So we'll see what happens, but I definitely agree with you there, Dorian.
Can I get back?
I'd like to see this, this really be the last year of that, right? I think if King comes back, I think from that point forward, we should be developing the high school Jake Garcias and the TBDs to start to move forward and to take this team, to where we need to go, right? We're gonna always have good defensive ends anyway. Especially with the kids that's coming out of high school next year. I mean, that shouldn't be a gap. So I just don't, if we recruit how we should recruit and we're winning, I just don't think that we should be clamoring over portal transfers. That's just my 2 cents.
Can I get back in for 1 sec?
Go for it.
We've had 2 years of the transfer portal, right?
Right.
Yep.
1 championship has been decided by a transfer portal quarterback. That's 50%. And the Hurricanes, who are the biggest beneficiary of the transfer portal so far, other than Joe Burrow, have gone from losing to Duke and FIU to being top 10 and having 5 or 6 guys as semifinalists. It's a very small sample size to look at and be like, oh wow, the transfer portal guys never do nothing. Baker Mayfield transferred, Jalen Hurts transferred, Kyler Murray transferred. Like, if you just take the cream of the crop, ideally Miami would have a 2001 roster every year, right? But it's not really Alabama and Clemson here. Miami's never been a football factory like that. If Manny can choke out local recruiting again, then yeah, we only take diamonds. You know what I mean? Only take a diamond. But until they've got that down, where every kid coming out of, every Jerry Jeudy or whatever is like, I'm playing for Miami, then we're going to have to pick up a couple guys, but only take diamonds. Don't take it the other way. And look at the kid last year, the receiver. Osborne. He was a good Hurricane. He was a leader. He played with maturity. Those other kids looked like fools when he started making plays. Because I was like the first person to be like, why are we taking somebody from Buffalo? Like, I was furious. And then I was like, oh, because he's better than the guys we have. The kids we have are soft. And Osborne is making those kids better. He made the league.
Ross, what do you think about all this?
You guys have covered a whole lot of stuff that was kind of on my mind, but one thing that I'll add to all this is Manny, when he first got here, the transfer portal was more of something that was needed because he didn't have his players. We didn't have depth develop, all that kind of stuff. I get that. One thing that I see now, and Better Duck, like you said, picking out gems, finding those true, gems in the portal. I think after going through guys like Tate Martell and Tommy Kennedy, we're actually better at identifying talent in the portal now going forward. And I want to give Manny and them credit for doing that. It's about finding that happy medium. Recruiting will always be the bread and butter. You have to develop through recruiting, and you have to get your depth developed through recruiting. But I'll give Manny and these guys credit. If they can continue to find that one or two gems that we need in that portal, and we continue to have them at this caliber of like a Bubba Bolden and a Phillips, it's only going to make us better.
I'd say this: if they aren't NFL guys, I don't want them.
Correct.
If they aren't Jalen Phillips or Quincy Roche, guys who are actually still going to get drafted, but they just want to come to us to better their draft stock. I mean, I'd rather not have them. I'd rather just develop a high school kid.
Yeah. Let's not forget the kicker too.
Oh yeah, Jose was a stud last year though. So I mean, we didn't really develop him. He's been like that.
Here's one thing I just thought about this, which is a benefit of the transfer portal. You can recruit a kid coming out of high school. He may be gone after a year. Christian Williams, for example. We picked him up, 4-star recruit. He got dropped by Alabama, whatever. He was picking Miami or Texas A&M. We pick him up late. He transfers in a year. He's gone from the program. Those transfer portal guys that come in as seniors, graduate players, they can't transfer. They're not going to transfer. So I think that's really good in the sense it's a positive compared to just taking a gamble with a high school kid that he doesn't get playing time. He's gone. You know, I mean, you're not going to swing and miss as much with portal guys. And I think Manny Diaz is identifying that compared to year one. He's being more pickier, and he's bringing in the right portal guys who can make an impact from day one. So that's one positive I see from this, but it's going to be very interesting, guys. We got, I think, 5 spots left, roughly. We got the Austin Barber just received an offer from Miami, 6'7" offensive lineman. I think he's from Jacksonville. Pat Payton from Miami Northwestern linebacker. He committed to Florida State. He's not going to be part of this class. Savion Collins decommitted. A lot of people think if we don't get Demarius McGee at corner, we're going to hit the transfer portal. Like I mentioned, University of Southern California linebacker, transfer portal, play with all of his teammates, a bunch of them playing at Miami. So that might be the future of Miami, is utilizing the transfer portal heavily. But hey, we'll find out moving forward. Anything else anybody wants to mention before we move on from this topic?
Well, one thing I will say is when you said if we don't get McGee, we'll probably get a transfer corner. That's definitely possible, but I think there's a good chance that we'll get McBurrows from St. Thomas. And he's had a great senior year. I hope that he ends up flipping. But I wouldn't be mad if we got him and then you add a transfer corner. Hey, you know what? I wouldn't, complain too much about that.
Is Manny Diaz, guys, after everything he's done this season, going 8-1, recruiting, are you guys comfortable, more confident in Manny Diaz growing in his second year at Miami that he is your leader moving forward, or you still have a lot of questions?
I'll go first. Honestly, I was a big fan when we did hire him. I mean, I wanted Cristobal, but I knew that was a bit of a pipe dream because I didn't think we were going to pay for that buyout. But honestly, it hasn't turned out too bad. I mean, yeah, okay, Mario won the Rose Bowl, last year, and I give him credit, but he's been garbage this year. And, Manny has really flipped it around. He's flipped the switch. And, I mean, look, I think it's about time people give him some credit. I know he takes a lot of heat from Kane fans, after what happened last year. And it's definitely deserved. I mean, because what we had last year was a clown show. And it's definitely one of the top 5 worst seasons in Miami Hurricanes history. It was that bad. But if we win these next 2 games, we win the bowl game, he would have went from 6-7 to finishing in the top 5 and finishing 11-1. And honestly, in my opinion, if that happens, he's definitely the coach of the year.
Anyone argue Manny Diaz is not going to be coach of the year? And is there any other discussion in the ACC, National College Football, that has a better case?
A better case. Maybe Jimbo Fisher would have a good case. Maybe. The coach from Cincinnati is undefeated, or Coastal Carolina. Anyone who's undefeated would have I mean, it's hard to knock somebody who's undefeated, right? But
Yeah, playing a cake schedule. I mean, I don't.
but we lost to cake teams last year though. So
Yeah, but that's what makes the case. You went from being garbage to possibly beating a top 10 team in your bowl game, if that happens, and finishing 11-1. I don't know how you could give it to anybody else, honestly.
well, I mean, to play devil's advocate, you could say, we were terrible last year, but we had talent, right? So that's his fault for being terrible, not the fact that he had a terrible team, right? You didn't take a terrible team to now going 11-1. You had talent, right? You shouldn't have went 6-7 last year or whatever we were, 7-6, right? You had the talent to be better than that. So I mean, he deserves to be mentioned. I'm not saying that he doesn't, but I'm just saying, anybody who goes undefeated, it's kind of, difficult to bet against them. But Paul, to answer your question, I mean, I'm on board. I still think Manny got to make a few more adjustments on the defensive side of the ball as far as coaching, right? I still think I still think he can fine tune the coaching roster over there. And these next 3 games is really gonna tell me as far as the direction we're going. But there's no question, I mean, that we're headed up. The trajectory is up for us. You can see the improvement. You can see the off-season moves. You can see, the on-field play totally different, much better. The coaching moves that he made in the off-season, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Great moves, great hires. I think moving forward in his career, he's going to be tested as far as if we lose coaches on the offensive side of the ball, replacing them, right? I mean, Nick Saban loses his entire staff every year, but, he's still rolling along with Ohio State or any other good team, right? So he got to get to that point.
Monster, man. That's a different monster, man.
Yeah, I mean, but that's what you got to go through them, right? That's the model that you got to beat, right? So he got to get to that level, in order to take us to where we need to go. But
I mean, Nick Saban wasn't even Nick Saban until what, 2-3 years? I mean, hey, he had a negative record his first year, I believe. So
National championship already.
yeah, but his first 2-3 years, I mean, he didn't have the talent that we had. He was at Michigan State or wherever he was at. I guarantee you, if that young Nick Saban wouldn't have, he wouldn't have lost to FIU, man. So it's a little bit different.
Better Duck, what do you think Miami has to do to get to Clemson, the Alabama level? And I know it's not going to be overnight. It's take years. But what do you think we have to do? The steps to take to get to that level?
Like the other guys were saying, you have to build depth through good recruiting. They still like holes in the starters. I mean, there's still starters that we're worried about on the defense. There's youth and stuff. And you just want to get to that point where every kid is a junior or a senior. Like every team we play is juniors and seniors. We play Virginia, and those are full-grown men that aren't as good as our guys, but they're men. And it's like when you beat up your younger brother, it's like, you may be faster, this and that. The one thing I will say about Manny is I'm going to hold off a little bit before proclaiming anything. I want to see how he looks without De'Aaron King again, because I think De'Aaron King is so dynamic and so good that he's like a rising tide lifts all ships. I think the team looks really good with him. Now, there's a wild card going into this week's game is we're not going to know what the scratches are. Every week there's scratches from the roster, kids that can't play. We got lucky and found out that King already had the virus, that De'Aaron had the virus. But how would we feel this week if, oops, Derek's scratched? Nkosi, you're in. Is Manny still coach of the year now? Would the offense look the same? Like, I don't think so.
Right.
I think that's so dynamic.
Hell no.
Nah, that'd be a fucking nightmare with Cozy. Oh my god. Nah, I don't even want to think about that shit.
That was a great point, Better Duck. I mean, seeing Manny with or without Diaz, or with or without King, we saw. Now, year one is always tough for a new head coach, but we saw it directly within these first 2 years. We've seen him with or without the guy. The one thing I'll say about Manny is that all I can ask a coach to do after he's failed is find a way to continue to improve. He did that for this last offseason. History tells us that, you know, you go out and you get a new offensive coordinator and you do all these things. It's not going to be great overnight. You have to work toward it. But you know what? He made some pretty cool stuff happen overnight. I'm really excited to see what he can do with another offseason. King coming back or not, though, I mean, that can make or break us in a lot of ways. I really hope Manny has truly learned, and a lot of this isn't just due to King putting the team on his back. I hope Manny has developed as well as the players have developed as well, because we're going to need him if King leaves.
Yeah, without a doubt. And honestly, I'll put it like this. If King comes back, I think that we're a playoff contender for next year. I mean, that's just the way I feel with the class we have coming in and what we can possibly finish with. You bring a lot of people back. I think Bubba's going to come back. I think the only people you could say are probably gone is, Jared Williams is gone. Jalen Phillips is gone. But you can make an argument that everybody else will be back. And you add in what we got coming in, we're going to be a really good team, man. And I would love to see how we look against Alabama with a guy like King. I'm not saying, we're going to win, but I definitely think that, the team will be up for it. And I think that, another year in the offense and another year, with a full, spring and fall, I think we can definitely make some noise.
And we got to remember, too, these guys that we're going to start seeing even more next year, these are going to be Manny's recruits. These are going to be this staff's recruits. We're going to start seeing those guys a lot more. So I'm anxious to see what their hand-picked talent will do for us.
I tell you what, whatever Dabo Swinney tells his folks to get them to come back, although they're first rounders, Manny better do that shit, man. Like, how the hell does a ETN and Wilkins and all those guys return to play for Dabo? Because they're playing for the chip, right?
Because they're making some good money too, man. let's not be oblivious. Clemson and back. How you think Devontae Smith came back? That guy would have been a first-round receiver last year, and he's the best receiver in college right now. Look, man. I mean, hey, I'm gonna be honest with it. These guys are, they're getting taken care of really well at these colleges. So I mean, hey, shit, we gotta do the same thing. We gotta take care of these people. Simple as that.
I think you didn't mention Brevin Jordan, Caleb. I think he's going to be leaving as well.
No, yeah. I mean, I assume that everybody knew that was already, a known thing.
Miami has 9,000 students. We're basically Vanderbilt or Duke, and we have an uninterested alumni that doesn't care because it's an international medical and business school. Like, it's just never going to be Clemson and Alabama here. We're never going to have that money floating around unless it comes from the ex-players.
Right. I mean,
and take a look at where schools like Clemson and Alabama reside. There's a lot more stuff going on in Miami than there's going on in Tuscaloosa, I'll tell you that. So if we want to get these guys and get these stands filled, we got to win, and we got to do it consistently.
Another thing, too, is like Drew Rosenhaus went to the University of Miami. Like Gregory Rousseau, like he was with Rosenhaus, that sports agency, like 5 minutes after he declared for the NFL draft. Like, if you're a great football player in Miami, every agent and mom is going to be on you, to try to sign with them. And Drew Rosenhaus happens to be from Miami. I mean, to live in Miami and go to the University of Miami. I mean, he's got heavy ties with the University of Miami. He's going to sign the best of the best. And Gregory Rousseau was the best of the best. So, it's tough going up against these bigger schools, you know, 'cause I think Clemson is a private school, but, you know, a lot of these public schools, you know, they have a lot of money. They have a lot of donors. I think our biggest donor, honestly, is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. He just put 17 million in the XFL. I mean, shit. I mean, nobody would have thought he may have wanted to put 17 million into the University of Miami football program instead of some minor league football league that will never beat the NFL. Let's be real. I mean, it's a stupid investment, but I don't have 17 million to invest by all means. So, I mean, more power to him. But, you know, like Better Duck said, we have to rely on our alumni and, you know, football alumni for donations or members of the board of trustees. I mean, to really, you know, gain traction for the University of Miami football program, we are getting a bill that has been passed already that players in the state of Florida will get paid. So that starts next year. I could be wrong.
It's a unique situation here. And what the previous coaches did, you have to own Broward, Dade, and Palm Beach. If you can get all those kids, then you can go stomp Alabama. If you can't, you're Vanderbilt or Duke. Because the only advantage here is getting the kids from Northwestern, St. Thomas, Riviera Beach, and just unleashing goons on the field. That now you can bang Alabama, or you can bang Oklahoma, or whoever. But if we're like, you know, middle of the pack in recruiting and the best players keep leaving, we're just a private school that, you know, has bigger aspirations than reality.
I agree with you 1,000% there. That's why I think getting a guy like Leonard Taylor and James Williams, that definitely changes a lot of kids down here. I think it changes their perception of the school, because you get two guys that, I mean, look, honestly, Leonard Taylor is arguably the best high school player in the country right now. And James Williams is definitely a top 10 guy as well. You get two guys like that, and people in South Florida, they're going to raise their eyebrow and be like, hey, you know, Miami's really up to something.
Yeah.
And if we can win consistently, then you know what? I see no reason why we can't continue to get the best of the best. We're not going to get everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you saw St. Thomas, you know, a guy like Dallas Turner, we didn't even have a chance with him. And I know St. Thomas is a mercenary school, but still, you know, they have one of the best coaching staffs here in South Florida. And, you know, you got to get people from there. And, you know, it's disappointing we didn't have a chance at a guy like that, but we're not, you know, we're building slowly. And I think next class, you're definitely going to see us possibly get 5 of the top 10 players in the state of Florida, because we're looking good for a lot of them already.
One big test that I want to, and I'm anxious to see it, and only time will tell what will happen, but I'm curious to see how we recruit out of a COVID season. Remember, we are in the COVID season. Recruiting was goofy. Guys couldn't visit like they normally did. A lot of virtual tours take place. I think that's a big thing to see Manny and the staff really show that it wasn't just COVID that got James Williams and Taylor. It was the University of Miami, and they wanted to truly play for our school.
Yeah.
I agree with you there, but I think it goes both ways, because I think it kind of hurt us a little bit when it came to some of our out-of-state targets. Because a lot of them couldn't come over here and, you know, take a look. Honestly, I think the only out-of-state target we have a chance with is Mason Smith, but I know a lot of people, you know, don't think we have a chance there. But I honestly,
well, don't forget Garcia at quarterback.
Yeah, but I mean, he's visited quite a few times before. You know, I'm talking about just like someone who hasn't visited that much. I mean, he only came down here one time, and that was for Paradise Camp 2 years ago. Garcia's been down here at least 3 times.
Yeah,
you know, so I think honestly, you know, what Doug said is true. We got to build a wall around, you know, Palm Beach, Broward, and Dade. I think we're definitely doing that bit by bit. But, you know, the thing that I say I want to tell people to caution with that is that we're still not doing that at, you know, the highest level possible. If you were doing it at the highest level possible, you would get a guy like Jason Marshall. No offense. I mean, I know, you know, there's, you know, been some rumors about some sketchy business going, you know, stuff going on at Palmetto. But at the end of the day, you know, we had a great chance to get him and we blew it. And, you know, that's the difference between actually beating an elite team and staying close with them, is elite corners. And I mean, look, in South Florida, there's no excuse to not be able to do that. I mean, we're getting safeties, we're getting defensive ends. You know, strikers, we're doing really good there. I mean, linebackers hasn't been great, but I think the young guys, especially the guys that came in last class, I think they're going to be really good. And you see some of the young guys are developing pretty good. Steed played really good against Duke. Brooks has been, I would say, better than McLeod and Jennings for the most part this year. And I think even a guy like Jennings, he's been, slowly getting better. The only person I really don't like is McLeod. But other than that, the linebackers haven't been that bad,
regarding corners though, Caleb, if you continue to do what you've done, you're gonna get what you've always gotten. And I'm referring to the way we recruit corners and our cornerback coach. All right.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So if you don't address that this offseason, don't expect it to change moving forward.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you 1,000%. And I think that's going to speak wonders about our team. If we can go 11-1 and for him to still feel the need that, we can do better because we should be doing better, that's going to be a telltale sign that Manny, he's going to be a good one for us. But if he doesn't make a change at cornerback coach, it's going to limit our potential on how good that we can be,
But if we go 11-1 and he doesn't land a cornerback, I don't think that there's any way in hell that Manny can justify keeping him around, because we need a guy who's actually going to be willing to hit the trail and do the hard work it takes to get these guys to come in. I mean, it's a position of need. If everybody else in the staff is improving and picking up their recruiting and only one or two guys aren't, one or two guys got to go then, in my opinion.
By the way, does anybody know why Al Blades did not make the trip to Duke?
I mean, he was, getting his streaming schedule done. He was like, hey, when am I going to get on COD? I need everybody to be in my streams. Hey, he wants to be a professional at that. I give him a lot of credit, but I don't think he takes football that seriously, honestly.
Now,
well, I missed that. What is he doing?
Twitch streaming, man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He's trying to be a pro at that. Call of Duty and all that other stuff,
there's a tweet on Twitter right now, and basically someone stated, I think they have some association with 7-on-7 South Florida Express, stating there's going to be another 4-star cornerback from South Florida transferring, and a lot of people believe that correlation has to do with Al Blades.
Well, I'll tell you one thing though, as I'm rewatching this Duke game, the Dunson kid looked good, and Marcus Clark looked good. Corey Couches basically took his spot, and DJ Ivy looks good. So you guys didn't miss Blades at all last game. Basically, the last couple of games, he hasn't done anything. So if he wants to go, then, I would hate to lose him, but, so be it, man. So be it.
You're a little nice when it comes to a Dorian. Look, he wants to go. I'll tell him, man, let me pack the bags with you. Wherever you want to go, we'll give you a first-class flight. And, don't let the door hit you on the way out, honestly, because if you're going to leave, after you got beaten for a spot, I mean, look, if somebody takes your spot, that should give you even more motivation to get better. And the fact that he's going to do something like that, I mean,
But he's playing out of position as well, man. He's a safety,
All I know is his last name is Blades. And when your last name is Blades, I want to see some fire coming out of your ass when you're playing football, basically. And I haven't seen that from him this year, honestly, guys. I just haven't seen it.
Because, again, he's out of position. He should be at safety.
He's not.
He played well last year, though. He showed that he could play cornerback. What happened? Why the regression, though? What happened mentally?
I didn't see that, but whatever.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna be honest. His first game as a starter was against Florida last year. I thought he did pretty damn good. They called a couple BS pass interference calls on him, but for the most part, he did good as a first-time starter. But I think ever since then, it's pretty much gone downhill. And I'm gonna be honest, man. It is what it is. Like if he wants to go, he could go. I mean, hey, look, honestly, that we're gonna take a hit depth purposes wise. But, you just said it. Dunson and Clark already, are showing signs of life more than what Blades has showed us all year. And you know what? The cream rises to the top. And if he doesn't want to fight for his spot, then, so let it be.
But we have options, right? Again, I've said it in our group chat, man. I would seriously move Avante Williams to corner next year.
Mm-hmm.
That's just me. I mean, that kid could be an elite cornerback. Do it all. So, we have options next year, and I wouldn't be surprised if, he's moved, right? I mean, because that could still free up James Williams to get more playing time and Kinchins as well. So, and if Bolden come back, I'm pretty sure Carter is going to return, and you got Hall. I mean, we're set at safety.
I was about to say the same thing, man. I think if you're Avante, you jump at the opportunity to play corner because that's the fastest way you're going to get on the field. Because I think Bubba's coming back, Gervin's coming back, Amari's coming back. So we're going to be, we're going to have a huge amount of depth. We're going to have a lot of senior, leadership there.
Man, he probably better than the corners that we have now. I mean, again, that kid has elite talent, man. He was an elite prospect out of high school, and I've seen him in coverage, right? You could see the highlights just from his tape and from Paradise Camp, man. He's just not like the average just safety, right? And plus, he's on the shorter side anyway. I think he's like 5'10", 5'11".
He's like 5'11", almost 6 feet.
Yeah, so corner is right up his alley, man. He can come in and start. He could.
You try to find a way to get those kind of guys on the field at the same time. When you have elite talent, you find ways to make it work. You know what I'm saying? You develop it and you find ways to make all that stuff happen so you can get them out there and let them take some heads off together.
But if it shouldn't come to that though, because in South Florida, man, we should never struggle to get DBs, defensive ends, the skill positions, wide receivers and running backs and stuff like that. Right? It shouldn't be to where we don't have any recruits, and then we got to send the entire defensive staff to chase down a kid that's already committed. Right? This is the last decent corner that's on the market, and we got to send our whole staff to recruit this kid, 3-star. Now, if that's Jason Marshall, then yeah, I get it, right? You send your whole team to recruit a 5-star, top 20 talent, yeah. But Manny got to address that in the offseason, man. He really does.
Oh yeah.
Desperate times call for desperate measures. We gotta do what we gotta do. Simple as that.
Nick Saban to do it, I guarantee you.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, look, dude, you're comparing Manny and Nick Saban. I mean, look, it's the second.
Man, that's a move that any boss would make, right? If you're a boss, if you got a weak link that's gonna hold the entire group back, you got to cut that shit off, man.
No, I totally agree with you. And I mean, look, there's one guy that just became available. It just so happens who is from the South Florida area and has gotten a lot of DBs into the NFL. I mean, I think we all know who I'm talking about. I think, Manny should be on the phone with him, talking about contract negotiations right now.
There you go. The guy from South Carolina, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, right. So now you get him. You don't have to have the freaking safety coach recruiting DBs. Because it's the DBs next year, man. It's a few of them that we have to land, like the Earl Littles and a few of those Aquinas kids are good as well.
We got to get Earl Little, the third Mullen brother, because we should have gotten the second one. You see the guy from Indiana, Mullen's little bro. He's been balling. He was a freshman All-American. He didn't even have an offer. So I think that's crazy. Honestly, look, I agree. I mean, the three guys for me that we got to get the third Mullen brother, we got to get Earl Little Jr., and we got to get his teammate Jacoby Spells. If we could do that, that's a great, trio to pick up.
Is there any chance in hell that if we keep Mike Rumpf that we can land those guys at cornerback next year? Do you think?
Nope.
Me either.
Nope.
I wouldn't say no chance. I think we could get one of them. I really think that if we have another great year like this year, I think it's a slam dunk that we'll get Earl Little Jr.
Nope. Because we were freaking ranked number 2 in the country, and we couldn't get the elite DBs.
Yeah, but we ended that year on a 3-game losing streak. So
nah, but still, the early signing day was before we were on a 3-game losing streak. The early signing period then was in December. We hadn't even played the bowl game yet.
Yeah, but it was after we got killed by Clemson, and a lot of people thought we were exposed. So, I mean, like I said, I agree we should have gotten, at least Tyson Campbell. But look, bro, I don't want to talk about Tyson Campbell. I got too many pissed off memories about that shit.
Yeah, we don't want to tell it. We don't want to tell everybody what you were telling me, but yeah. Change the DB coach, man. Change the DB coach.
It'll be interesting what happens at the end of the year. I don't think we'll change anything because I think Manny's just going to keep it the same. But if you want to be great, you got to make the appropriate changes on your staff. Guys, let's wrap it up. Score predictions. Miami taking on UNC. Top 25 matchup. Hard Rock Stadium. Who do you got, Better Duck?
I'm going to pick Miami. I'm going to go high here. I'm going to go like 42-38.
Oof.
It's going to be nonstop the whole game. It's going to be a frustrating game to watch because they're going to move the ball on us. I've watched that quarterback a couple times at Sam Howell. That kid can sling it.
Yep. Ross?
I've got us going in a pretty damn high score game in itself here. Something really similar to what Better Duck said. I'm going to go with us winning 42-35.
Caleb?
I'm gonna flip the switch a little bit. I think I'm feeling a lot better. If we didn't play the way we played a couple nights ago, I would probably say differently. But I think that Baker made some adjustments, and I think UNC is gonna be a game where a lot of fans are gonna be happy. I'm gonna roll with. I don't think we score 40. I'm gonna say something like 38-27.
Dorian?
Got 33-30.
Ooh.
Canes by field goal. High scoring game. I think we edge them out this time. I don't think we give up a 4th and 17. I think we it'll be close because of the fact that Howell is an NFL elite quarterback, so he'll keep the minute, and Blake Baker with the bend but don't break defense, right? I'm thinking 33-30 because their defense is trash, but I got 33-30.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a game, battle of the trenches. If Miami wins that battle, I think they will win the football game. It's going to come out to our defensive line. Can we get to Sam Howell? Can we create pressure? Can we stop their run game? It's going to be a very interesting game come Saturday. I think Miami will pull it off. I'm going to say 35-30, around that ballpark range. I think it's going to be a close game. It may come back to a final drive where UNC is trying to score, and then history will repeat itself. It's going to be 4th and 10, 4th and 17, maybe 4th and 5. Does Miami stop them then? I think that's how the game will end. We'll find out Saturday, 3:30 p.m. It's going to be on ABC, national televised game, top 25 matchup. Thank you, everyone, for coming on tonight. Hope everyone has a great rest of their night, and always all about the U.
Yes, sir.
Peace.